What's up, nerds? It's Havoc again. Got another video for you guys today on Faymonville. In this game, we're playing against Miguel. For those of you that don't know, Miguel is also known as DevM. He's kind of a franchise legend. He's played since the first title. Eventually got picked up by Relic as one of the developers. He's since moved on to bigger and better things with EA. But he's still sticking around the community, still playing games, still plays at a very high level. So, we had a great game today on Faymonville, as you can see. I am playing the DAK. I wanted to showcase my new build that I've been using most consistently. Very similar to a previous build that I've showcased, but with a small change in the early game that has longer term implications, and I'll talk about the battle group choice as well a little bit later, but this has been basically my standard opener recently. So you can see I started out here with a bike and Panzer Pioneer build combo, going into a 250. Now I've mentioned before I usually go from this point into the plus 10 fuel, but I saw that he had paradropped a machine gun there, so I've decided not to go straight to that point and run to the machine gun. Instead, I'm going to be flanking around the outside and going for this building hardpoint and waiting for my 250 to show up, so that I can basically force my way into close range against him. Now, he actually did a good job of capturing this plus 10 and then backing his way up. And so what I've decided to do instead is I'm going to try and get on top of him. When I saw him set up the arc, I just jumped back in the building there. Bike is coming in to add some harassment from outside of the arc range. And now I'm just trying to close in on him and see if I can force him off. Or even better, try to steal the machine gun that he's got. Interesting arc set up there. Just avoiding getting in. Probably could have been more aggressive here once my second Panzer Pioneer and the bike showed up. I definitely could have killed this, actually. If I was a little bit more aggressive. But I was kind of struggling to micro in this area. I had too many units. But we did manage to make our way across. We're a little bit slow on our early game fuel income, which is going to slow down our planned build a little bit, but not too much. Over here, he's dropped a second machine gun, so we're just moving outside of the arc, getting around him, and then backing up. Now, the two Panzer Pioneer build that I decided to go for, rather than the Panzer Grenadier, which is what I was doing previously, is a decision based on a couple things. One, I feel like the Panzer Grenadier, it turns into a bit of a munition sink, and they really don't perform that well in combat relative to the Panzer Pioneer. They do scale better, but by going for the Panzer Pioneer instead of the Panzer Grenadier, I'm saving myself 100 manpower, which is actually allowing me to get the Assault Grenadier out that much earlier. For those of you that have seen, I've been going like PG into Assault Grenadier, but now with my Assault Grenadier coming out a little bit earlier, I'm actually to get more use out of them in the early game, especially with the 250 combo. So you can see here I've wired the low point on the dock here. This is keeping him from being able to walk in here and capture this way. My Assault Grenadier is jumping into base. My bike is running over to my plus 10 fuel where his scout is to deny the decapture while I rotate my way over. And the other nice thing about this build is I'm actually able to go for both of the flamethrower, which can be really, really useful on a map with any kind of buildings or cover. And I'm able to get a sweeper, which is obviously critically important for the DAK, because if you're losing your vehicles to mines, that's a fast way to lose the game. So we're just playing very defensively with the Panzer Pioneers, playing in green cover. I got really aggressive on his scout here, and you can see I chased it down with the 250 and Assault Grenadier combination. I am losing my fuel right now, but because I was able to inflict some losses on him, I'm not too worried about it. This is the first time I actually see him use grenades, and I've noted his second machine gun. I'm actually going to jump in the building here to negate the suppression, and Miguel does a good job of throwing a grenade at the door of the building. In this situation, I want to call out, in this situation, if you're in a building with one door and you see your opponent throwing a grenade at the door, it's better to just stay in the building. If you get out, you're going to take even more damage because all the models are going to stack up on the door of the building. So if you're ever in a situation where there's no other door for you to escape from and your opponent's throwing a grenade at the only entrance, just take the hit in the building and then get out. So we're pulling back here. Other nice thing about the Panzer Pioneers is that we're able to get more repairs because the Panzer Pioneer has better repair speed than Panzer Grenadier. You'll notice I also went for my standard machine gun opener. I still think this is really, really important for early game DAK so you don't get overrun by swarms of line units. So this is still an important tool, I think, to have in the early game. And as for tech right now, because my fuel has been low, I'm planning to aim for tier 1.5 instead of tier 2. But like I usually do, I usually go tier 2 Stugdi into 254, or sometimes I go 8 rad if I have good fuel tempo early on. This game, because my fuel tempo has been bad, I am going for the tier 1.5 and likely into a flak Veerling is what I'm planning for at this point. Still trying to get the maximum use out of my I actually got a little bit too close there with my 250, but trying to, you know, use the bonus from my assault grenadiers and the free grenades. Miguel's doing a really good job of covering his riflemen with the 1919s that he's got. Throws another grenade at the door. I actually managed to get out in time because I saw him throwing it a little bit early. And you can see here I'm going for a second assault grenadier. And this has been pretty standard, my build, for the last little while. Feeling pretty good about like the 2 Pio, 2 assault grenadier combo. Obviously, the area of liability that you kind of open yourself up to in this build is early light vehicle like a Humber from UKF or like an early M5. In that case, I might end up going for the Panzerjäger call-in, but because it had been so long and it was too late for his GM or his M5 to be coming in, I was expecting maybe a motor pool and a Greyhound build. I also know that Miguel, he's a big fan of the M8. He's a little bit famous in previous titles for his use of the M8. So that's also what I was expecting from him. So getting aggressive here with my second assault grenadier unit in the 250 that I've got. Been doing a good job of taking care. Oh, another nice thing about the Panzer Pios is obviously being able to build cover, build mines. And since you're not spending the extra munitions on the LMG upgrade for the Panzer Grenadier, then you're able to spend more munitions on mines as well as the flamethrower upgrade, which can come in handy with the battle group choice that I'll talk about shortly. So knowing, obviously, my biggest opening right here is I know he's going to have a light vehicle on the field pretty soon. I don't know for sure when, but I know the next unit that I'm going to need is going to be an anti-tank unit. Otherwise, he's going to just run me over with the first vehicle that hits the field. So you'll see me put into production the Pak 38. And I'm just focusing on keeping spread out on the map away from the concentration of his 1919s. And just trying to buy time while I wait for my Pak 38. You'll notice I see his Greyhound coming. I'm expecting he's probably going to try and dive for the 250. So I'm going to get my Assault Grenadier out. I have the smoke if I need it to allow me to finish the capture of this fuel. And I'm just going to back away here after I see the Greyhound shot. And now it's going to be a little bit of a game of cat and mouse until I can get my Pak out to defend some of my units. And just a question of like trying to buy some extra time for myself as well. While he's pushing in here, I've forced away his MG. I'm going to be thinking about jumping on this point and trying to disconnect these points that he's about to capture. I'm going to bring my Pak 38 up to defend against the Greyhound here. Using the smoke to cover my defense here of my Pak with the Assault Grenadiers. Just backing away slowly. Now that I've got tier 1.5, I'm also going to be thinking about flak Veerling. I am going to need some kind of vehicle to as like an anti-vehicle threat that is more mobile. And since, you know, I've gone for tier 1.5, the only option I have here is the flak Veerling. Now, the flak Veerling, obviously, pre-Vet 1 does not do a ton of damage to the something like the Greyhound. So I'm going to have to rely on the coverage of the packs and a little bit of chip damage from the Flak Veerling in order to be able to adequately threaten the Greyhound. And that means I'm just going to have to play a little bit more defensive with it than I might normally.
Enemy forces have taken our territory.
Just trying to spend with some of my munitions, plant some mines. Getting my bike in here to deny the decapture. Coming in with the Assault Grenadier on the flank. Going to try and take advantage of the free grenade ability. But he does a good job of retreating a little bit early. And then I'm changing targets, focusing on this, man, between the machine gun, the Vet 1 from the bike, the Assault Grenadier charge, and the Flamer damage from the grouped Rifleman, we get a great load of damage onto him in a very short time. We were able to pick up that Rifleman kill, which is great. Flak Veerling's on the field now. Pack is moving into position to defend my units that are pushing into the south side here. Flak Veerling coming over to push off this machine gun. Again, I'm not going to get too in his face. I'm not going to get too close to him. And I am going to go for the second pack here because with only one pack, if he dives me, and most likely if you're dealing with like a Greyhound or a light vehicle that's diving you, if you're lucky, you get one shot off before your opponent realizes and is able to get out of the arc. And so I've gone for the second pack here to add that extra layer of defense against this Greyhound that he's got. Because if I can get one shot from each pack when he's diving my Flak Veerling, the Flak will be able to finish it off. So that's kind of the rationale here for the second pack. I also know that I've had really good manpower preservation, good KD against his units. Machine gun moving into this hard point, which is going to add great coverage, provides great coverage and defense of this +10 fuel. You can see I'm just trying to buy as much time here as I can without losing the unit. Pack is covering the flank. We're both suppressed. I was trying to see if I could force off the Rifleman before retreating, but wasn't quite able to. And I'm going to use my packs together because that's the only way I'm going to sufficiently threaten the Greyhound in this case. So you can see I'm rotating them over. I'm not engaging with the Flak Veerling because I don't want to risk getting caught out before the packs are in position to defend me. I'm using the smoke to deny the vision of his Greyhound so I can capture my +10. And now you can see we've got pretty good fuel control in place. The machine gun is going to provide great coverage of this point, so I can basically just leave this in here to cover the +10 and still he forces it off with some kind of artillery or potentially like a captain or something like that. Packs here defending the push in from the Greyhound. Machine gun just getting myself in fully in the green cover so he's not shooting me in the side. Paratrooper's going to take some hits. I'm deliberately, you can see here, I'm actually staying just outside of the vision range of the AT gun. So in order for him to hit me, he's going to have to attack ground through this hedgerow. And you can see I also deliberately pulled back my packs. Do I have healing going? Yeah, I do. I wanted to keep these healthy and make sure that I'm not going to lose them to just chip damage over time. And but I am trying to be careful with this because I don't want to overextend with the Flak and leave myself susceptible to the Greyhound dive. I know obviously I did some chip damage to him, but I don't know how quickly he's gone to repair it. So, you know, from my perspective, it could be that it is going to be a threat to the Flak Veerling. I see his AT gun repositioning. I'm going to move out of range. But we're still very comfortable at this point because we've got access to the +10 fuel on the north side. Like I mentioned, coverage from the MG. I'm repositioning my bike to the middle to get some vision on figuring out where he's going to push from next, potentially. Take an AT gun shot, but I do have smoke there just to cover my retreat. Pushing in here with the Flak Veerling. Pioneers in position. You can see the Greyhound has come up again. And as soon... Now, I want to call this out. You'll notice I didn't move my packs forward when I first saw the Greyhound because I'm waiting for this machine gun to retreat. The reason why I'm waiting for this machine gun to retreat is because if I walk these forward while the machine gun is there, he's going to have vision of both of my packs. So I'm waiting for him to run away. So that creates an opening and a gap in his intelligence on where my AT guns are positioned. Now that the machine gun is retreating, I'm free to move these forward without him being aware and potentially pick up the kill on this Greyhound. So you can see now I'm moving them forward. I'm moving the flak in position to be more aggressive. Attack move my packs. Wait for the 2 shots to come in from both packs. And then we're able to pick it up there with the flak veerling and a little bit of chip damage. Very close. Second shot there from his AT gun. I'm just killing the Greyhound wreck because I don't want him taking cover behind it. I'm going to pull my packs away now that his rifleman is pushing up. Flak veerling is going to defend as well. He's done a good job of using the captain artillery to flush me out of this building. Now, rather than retreat, I think a lot of people in this situation, knee-jerk reaction is just going to be to hit the retreat button. I still want to prioritize defending this plus 10 fuel. And I know for a fact that even if he pushes in, like even if I take a little bit of chip damage from the artillery in this case, I can still position myself to defend this plus 10 fuel. So I'm going to step outside. I'm going to walk around the building. I was actually able to get out in time to not take too much damage. Using the assault grenadiers and the grenades to flush out the paratroopers that were in position. There's a little bit, it's kind of a lot happening, so there's a little bit of delay on me moving over here. Getting in his face with the assault grenadiers. This is like the best possible trade that I can ask for. You know, like I've said several times, DAK infantry is pretty lackluster, but using the assault grenadier with the disembark bonus is kind of like the most effective way to get use out of your infantry at this point. Now, in terms of battle group choice, because of the tech direction that I've gone and the composition that I currently have, I have one machine gun and 2 packs. And I'm currently sitting at 5 CPs. I know that he's got at least 1 paradrop AT gun. I know for sure that he's got 2 machine guns. Now, before I make a selection, maybe you guys could like pause and ask yourself, what would be a good choice for battle group based on where we are right now, what we know our opponent has, what we have, what would synergize really well with our composition and what we've gone for. So after thinking about it, hopefully you've had a chance to guess. I'm leaning towards Italian infantry battle group. Reason being is my team weapons are going to benefit greatly from prepared positions. It's going to give me that extra vision, reduced incoming damage. And then I'm also thinking about what is going to complement my composition and help me manage some of the team weapons that he has, because he's also reasonably team weapon heavy at this point with 1 AT gun and 2 machine guns like I am. Looking at my current composition, I don't have any indirect fire. I could go for the, what is this thing called? The LEIG support gun team, but personally, I feel like this unit is quite expensive for what it does now. It got some pretty significant nerfs in the last patch, and so I have not been using this. That combined with the damage reduction provided by the American machine gun teams, you can see this defensive setup, this 30% damage reduction when set up. That combined with the nerf damage on the LEIG makes it very difficult for the LEIG to actually be useful in pushing these off the field. It takes very long. It takes a lot of shots in order to do that. So what I'm eyeing in the Italian battle group is the Cannone, because the Cannone has an auto fire option. It also comes with a truck, which I can upgrade into a medical truck, which you'll notice looking at my current build, I actually don't have that at the moment. I've been leaning on my 250s to provide the healing. By the way, this is part of the reason why it's so important to keep your 250s alive, is because if you've gone for an aggressive build like I've got, you're taking a lot of damage, but you don't have a medical truck because it's going to eat too much into your vehicle tempo. You need to keep the 250s alive so that you can juggle the healing on them between the Vet 1, where you have healing on the squads that is inside the 250, and then you have the medical kit and station package that provides the area of effect healing to all the units around it. So that's going to provide me a ton of value if I can pick up this Canone. And if we look at the CPs right now, I'm actually sitting at the perfect number of CPs to give me access to the Canone as soon as I have the resources for it. So we're going back to base. We're getting a whole bunch of heals. We're still, you notice, like here I mentioned, you know, I put the machine gun in position to defend the +10. The bike came over to keep him from decapturing it with the captain. And now I'm going to pull back, retreat, and heal my machine gun so I can bring it back onto the field and defend this fuel position. So leading with my assault grenadiers. I have smoke on here, so I'm not too afraid of the AT gun that he's got. Just going to get really aggressive on the +10 here. You can see that he's got a machine gun here in the building. And this is where, for me, the cogs are starting to turn on like what I should be going or my next purchase. See here, moving into position. I think I try to move the bike here to deny the decapture, but I'm a little bit too slow. Flamer Pioneers pushing up the middle, putting down some bags on this middle VP that are going to serve me a little bit later on as a good defensive position. Pushing in here with the Assault Grenadiers. Getting up alongside this 1919 with the bike. Green cover position. Wait till he retreats and then we're going to push back in. Flamer getting in position to defend. Pax moving up in case he pulls another vehicle onto the field. I don't really know when to expect a heavier vehicle from him. And then you guys will notice I actually went for tier 3 here, and I'm going for a P3 first. I've seen some players go for Stuka first. I don't usually recommend that, especially with a composition like the one that I've got, because it leaves you susceptible to getting dove by a Sherman, like the first Sherman that hits the field. And if your opponent manages to get like some good smoke on your packs or something, because you have no snares, you have to rely on your opponent either hitting a mine or, I guess, running straight into your packs in order to adequately defend your units. So I always like to go for the P3 first, and then I kind of decide, okay, am I going to go for my armored reserves? Am I going to go for a Stuka potentially? And based on where I'm at right now, I'm thinking P3 is going to be the best choice because I can play a little bit aggressive with it. It's going to provide me a mobile anti-tank threat if he decides to dive me with some kind of vehicle. It's not the greatest unit for that, but it's going to do the job enough to get me to my next tech choice in this case. You can see he's actually produced another AT gun, which I actually find kind of funny. Like, I feel like I would rather just paradrop one in. But, oh, it actually looks like he's saving his CPs here. Yeah, let's call that out. So he's actually saving his CPs here rather than going down straight towards the anti-tank paradrop. He's saving his CPs so he can choose between... It looks like he's going to go for the carpet bomb because he doesn't have enough CPs for it yet. Otherwise, maybe he would have captured... Or he would have selected the P-47 rocket strafe at this point. But double AT guns is always a good choice. It provides, you know, the threat that you need to deter any kind of vehicle dives. Hit my first shot there from the... Now, yeah, I want to call it here. Rather than reversing and changing direction, backing up the P3, I'm actually just continuing to drive forward. I'm going to try to deny the line of sight of this AT gun by getting behind the building instead. Potentially saving myself from another hit from this AT gun. But he hits me again anyway. But now I know in this position I'm not under threat of getting hit by this this M1. He does a good job of rotating in case I came around the building. There we've spotted his second AT gun. He gets a great snare on the flak there from behind the bush. So that's a great pickup for him. He was able to kill it because he had the Vet 2 on the rifleman, which provides the extra sticky bomb damage. And you can see here, machine gun still defending this +10, providing a ton of value there. Captain's going to flush it out. Again, I'm going to try to aim to reposition this rather than retreat. You can see now... Oh, I actually took too many hits from the mortar, so I did retreat. And I've gone for defensive operations. This is going to give me access to teller mines, which are excellent, especially with this kind of build, because they provide a massive threat against enemy vehicles. Sometimes if your opponent hits a regular mine, they're still able to get away because they're still maneuverable enough to outrun the potential chase from an AT gun. But if your opponent hits a teller mine, they're taking heavy engine damage. They're barely moving at all, which makes them sitting ducks for like a double pack setup. And then you can see here I've actually gone for the Canone unlock. I'm going to wait for this. Now that I know he's got double AT guns and double machine guns, I'm anticipating I might be able to get a good amount of value out of the Canone because it's going to do much more damage than the League because it's a much higher caliber weapon. Oof. Take a lot of damage in there from the M1, and then the 1919s penetrated that frontal 250 armor pretty well. Getting maximum use I can out of this disembark bonus. Bringing my P3 over to where I know his AT guns are not, because I've spotted them both here in the middle. So I'll switch the perspective back to mine here. Getting right on top, super aggressive on his machine gun, forcing it away. Assault Grenadier is going to go back to capturing this +10. Bike is in position to defend or recapture this munitions point. Packs are moving over to the Assault Gren position just in case he decides to push him with some kind of a vehicle, which again, I'm not sure if he has yet. Now, I want to call out the reason why his tier 4 is going up so late is because he went for relatively early logistics. Normally, I feel like getting this maybe a little bit earlier is ideal, but I actually think this is the earliest he could get it, considering he went for the Greyhound and motor pool option. But yeah, so he did go for the advanced logistics, which is what's causing his next vehicle to be so delayed in coming out. Rotating here my machine gun, and now I've positioned the Canone right outside my base. The nice thing is the auto fire is going to provide me complete defensive coverage of the middle. I can barrage anywhere on the map, as you can see, which is going to be really useful later on. And as long as I'm very active with setting this up, the auto fire is going to provide a ton of great value against his static units, and even like his mobile infantry squads. You know, paratroopers, they want to be stationary when they're engaging units because they're working with the double LMGs. And so this is going to provide me a ton of great value over the course of the game in terms of chipping away at his more defensive units. P3, just again, getting aggressive on the flanks with it. Don't want to be engaging him in the middle. You can see Assault Grenadiers going to go for the disembark bonus, try and get into green cover because I know he's got a machine gun back here. And I'm in the process here of getting, I'm going to reface this shortly, most likely to try to defend against these team weapons. And he gets a great volley in on my 250, which causes me to lose that as well. Now, I've pushed him away. I know his double AT guns are in the center. I believe I'm barraging the center. Yeah, so I'm barraging. I'm barraging where I know his machine gun was. And I'm gonna come in with a big flank. I'm getting the Assault Grenadiers on top of this P3 so I can get the disembark bonus. I'm gonna come in from behind and see if I can flush out his AT guns. But it actually does look like he's done a good job of moving his AT guns forward, so he's not taking as much threat from the Canone. Assault Grenadiers coming from behind with the P3. I'm getting the grenades on him. He's actually setting up here, which is a bit of a mistake by him. I get a lucky bounce on the P3. I'm going to finish off this MG. I'm going to capture that because that's going to be super valuable to me, especially with prepared positions, which I'm going to get later on. Just buying myself a little bit of time and using the smoke on the Assault Grenadiers to cover the retreat of this machine gun team. Canone again, adding some great damage in. Truck has been upgraded to a medical truck, which I pulled back to my base, and it turns out it's very timely because I ended up losing both my 250s. So without those, without the truck there, I would have actually no healing. In terms of upgrades, I've gone for smoke at this point. I'm going to be thinking about vehicle survival package pretty soon because my manpower is coming up. And I've also decided to go for armored reserves in this case. Because I know that he's got double AT guns, I want a little bit heavier armor, as well as potentially another Assault Grenadier squad, which comes with a couple of the armored reserves options. or sorry, the P4 option, which is what I'm going to be aiming for. The P4 has a little bit more frontal armor. It's going to go better toe-to-toe with something like a Sherman or a Hellcat than the P3 is that I've got. So we're leaning towards armored reserves. I'm going to be using the Canone as an anchor to force away his team weapons to create enough space so that I can get in there and aggressive with the P4 when I eventually get it. You can see Miguel's actually gone for another AT gun here. The logistics really paying off for him. You know, he's got a ton of manpower that he's floating. And he knows I'm going to be leaning more heavily into vehicles now. So this is a good choice, I think, from him. Now, I've decided to start barraging his base. This is always a good idea once you get the Canone, especially on a map like this. Seeing if you can pick off the medical tent or just inflict some casualties in base, especially when a high-value squad is retreating, is always a good idea. Pack 43 is in position, or pack, what are these, 38, sorry, in position to defend the Assault Grenadier. Still haven't seen a vehicle from him, so I'm expecting it's going to be something from Tier 4. It could be a Hellcat, could be a Sherman. In this case, we actually see he has a Dozer in production, which I'll find out later on. Now, with the munition float that I'm getting as well, I'm going to be thinking about some great choke points to be planting Teller mines. I just want to point out a couple. Regardless of which side of the map you are on, arguably, I think more in my position, the optimal places that I'm going to be thinking about planting Teller mines. This opening here, this is a very common choke point for vehicles to traverse when they are attacking the left side of the map, whether they're coming to the VP or coming to defend or attack this plus 10 fuel. This is a very common traversal point. On the other side of this building is also very common. In between, right here in the middle is very common. You can either place it more aggressively or more defensively if you're, anticipating your opponent pushing through. This road is always a great choice. Near this crater is a very common position as well. If you get, again, with the Teller mines, you don't want to be like hyper aggressive with them because then they become too easy to spot for a sweeper. But at the same time, you don't want to be too defensive with them because then your opponent's never going to get deep enough to actually hit them, right? So when I think about planting a Teller mine, like it's going to be here, maybe here, maybe here. And then another great common traversal point is placing one right here because it's very accessible if you've got AT guns in this position. So one here is always a good idea as well. And then on this side of the map, you can think about either placing one here or potentially this is a good position as well if you've got an opponent's vehicle coming over to either defend or attack this victory point. You want to think about what's the path that they're going to take to get there. So they're going to come around this untraversable terrain, the block of trees here. They're going to come around towards the VP, and by driving straight at the point from this road, they would hit something that would be like in a position like this. So those are some pretty high value potential points that I can place. Seeing here, he's called in his bomb drop. I'm just trying to get all my units out of the area. And now that the airdrop has passed, I'm going to think about how can I get aggressive on this AT gun that he's got. Actually, the way he's positioned, the arc's still looking a little bit funny. He was expecting me coming from here. P3 just chipping away at these paratroopers from long range as much as possible. 1919 caught out of position by the Dozer that I'm seeing for the first time. Are we hitting anything with the Canone? I think we just right-click this machine gun here. He actually uses the captain artillery on the Canone, which is great. Moving the truck out of position.
Our light support company has sustained damage.
Now, I actually used my smoke there. It was a little bit of a misplay by me. I was trying to avoid getting another shot in from those AT guns. I'm going to stay on his flank, but still in threat range here. And prepare positions, you can see, coming in really handy for me, keeping me from losing the 38s here to his Dozer. Medical truck staying near the artillery. Just using a barrage where I think he might have some team weapon positions. Managed to catch one of his M1s. Getting some good hits in. And again, as I soften up this target, I'm always going to be thinking about, okay, now that I've softened up this target, how can I capitalize on this and potentially deal a killing blow? That's how you want to be thinking about using artillery. as much as possible. I don't do it perfectly in this game, but there will be a couple points I'll call out that it works out pretty well. So machine gun posturing defensively to defend this middle victory point. I'm pulling the AT guns out of base, moving this assault. Now, I'm prioritizing the VP. Obviously, you can see here, I was on a triple cap previously. I'm getting pretty low on victory points. I'm sub 100 right now. So I need to make that my main priority. Just uses a snare to deter too much aggression from the P3. Force away his paratroopers with the flamer pile there. Have I got my upgrades yet? I got my emergency repair kits, and I'm gonna be waiting for this P4. But you'll notice I'm actually pop capped, which is why I haven't called it in yet. It needs 20. I need 20 population in order to get this on the field. And there we go. No viable targets for my Canone, so that's why I'm going for the base here, as you can see. Spotted out the 105. You can see I'm rotating the packs over to deal with that. I'm going to be thinking about pushing it. Now, I see his double AT guns right here, right? I spotted those a few seconds ago. So I'm moving my pack 38s over, and I'm also going to be thinking about moving my P3 potentially aggressively on this 105. Because I know that if I can pick that off, then I'll be able to run pretty rampant with my vehicles. So you can see I'm just baiting him in, paying a bit of manpower tax here, waiting for my AT guns to set up, then I'm going to retreat that squad. P3, I think, is trying to rotate over. Yeah, pathing is just not being very nice to me. Rotate this machine gun over. Again, you know, with prepared positions stacked with a passive from defensive setup, this thing becomes very, very beefy and difficult to kill. Even for the very strong long-range paratroopers. Canone is barraging this machine gun here. Packs in a defensive position against potentially another push from the bulldozer. Flanking in with the Pioneer with the flamer. I'm going to see if I can pick up this machine gun. Do manage to pick that up. I'm going to see if I can capture it before retreating. But I think here, I'm a little afraid of him throwing a grenade at me, which is why I've decided to leave it, and we actually just end up killing it instead. Big hit in there from the paratroopers. Great grenade. Those cook grenades are very difficult to dodge. He's floating quite a bit of manpower, actually. I didn't see this. There we go. Fakes the grenade. Good fake. Good fake on the grenade. Gonna put the machine gun in this building to cover the VP primarily. I always need to be holding one VP at this point because I'm very, very low on VPs at this point. And then we get an incredible hit from the Canone. I think this was a right click on my part where he double stacked his AT guns in the center there. And now I see my opening to potentially close the game out, especially with this P4 just hitting the field. So I'm going to get really aggressive on top of these AT guns to see if I can make sure that I can deny his recapture of these. I'm actually trying to hit it with the P3, but I missed. Again, I should be getting a little more aggressive here with the assault grenade. A little bit of miss micro there on my part. P4 and assault grenade coming in on this captain on the left-hand side. You're still really trying to hit these AT guns with my P3, but I just can't seem to. He throws a grenade at himself. I push him off the VP. Dozer coming in to protect. Oh, I really should have retreated this. This is very late. Okay, yeah, we lose that aspirin. That's not great. Now, we did get a consolation second assault grenadier coming from the P4 that we just bought. Again, I'm still really trying to kill these. I'm bringing my packs over because I'm like, man, I cannot let him get these AT guns back. So I'm just focusing on trying to kill them as quickly as possible. Packs are going to set up to try and do the same. There we go. First shot. Again, the tanks just can't seem to hit these for whatever reason. I'm going to finish those off. And now I'm in a very strong position because you can see he's got very, very little AT gun or anti-tank support. Now that I've killed 2 of his AT guns, but he did have a 3rd. He's got a 4th one in construction. If I was aware of how many AT weapons he had at this point, I probably would have been more aggressive. But I also know that he's got double dozer. So he's got a great anchor for these AT guns that he's been setting up. There we go, attacking for the Obiche. Attack rounding through the wall against this 105. 105, I'm not really worried about dealing too much damage to my P4 here. Focusing on the AT gun with the Assault Grenadiers. He's dealing some good bounces with the dozers. Trying to get aggressive again with the P3. MG34 going to protect me against this rifleman push. Still focusing on the decapture with the Pioneer while this is going on. And you'll notice here I've actually also teched Rapid Advance. Again, I think highly underrated ability. Very useful for denying captures or decapturing points. Bringing my packs over to defend the position. He's using a recon run to see if he can catch out my team weapons potentially. And now I want to call out here, he sees an opening, right? So because of the recon run, here I'll switch to his vision really quickly. So the recon actually provides a lot of vision that is outside of the call-in radius on it. You can see this is the circle, but he can see quite a fair bit outside of the circle because of where the recon plane actually is. You can see it here on the mini map. He can see quite a bit outside of that arc. He knows my P4 is over here. He knows my P3 is on the north VP. So now he sees an opening to close in, using the bombing run as a tool to flush me out and potentially pick up all of my team weapons right here, as you can see. So I mean, like Miguel, I think showing himself as like an experienced player, knows when to be aggressive at the right times, even when he's behind, right? Having the confidence to be aggressive in those right moments, even when you're behind, is what separates him as like, a great player instead of just a good player. So he's closing in on here with his double dozer Shermans on my AT guns. He's pulling up his AT guns to support as well as the paratroopers. Great bombing run usage on his part. And he actually manages to pick up not just my AT guns, he also decrews the Canone. And then he's also going to wipe out my 1919 here that I've captured from him. I was pretty upset that he managed to hit my base with the with the bombing run. I'm using the Obiche to try to keep him from pushing in and going and also catching out my P3 here. I'm also using the smoke to get away, but I'm using the Obiche barrage to cover his retreat. Managed to decrew one of his M1s in the first shot. The P4 also coming in to try to compensate and keep him from destroying these packs on the flank. But he's doing a great job of defending it with his M1. I actually think he's just a little bit line of sighted there. P4, I'm going to use the smoke here to get away. P3, I'm still trying to deter these dozers, but they're super beefy. His Hellcat hits the field at the perfect time. He's going to be able to chase down and pick up this P4. Oh, he actually stopped there a little bit. Again, I'm trying to focus on the most threatening target. P4. I don't typically use the Vet 1 ability on the P4 unless I know for sure that it's going to die. So I tried to stay moving and see if I could maybe trade out. The only case that might happen is if he missed, but he gets a great pickup on my P4. And now we're back to pretty much even. If anything, if you look at the population, Miguel's actually got a significant advantage over me. He's also got the VP advantage. I have no AT guns left. He managed to kill all of them. But now I'm going to prioritize getting back onto the field, recrewing my team weapons, and then trying to buy some more time with the second P3 that I just bought here. And I need to be aggressive right now because I know that if I allow him too much space and time to breathe, he's going to have the tempo because he's got 3 vehicles. I've got 2. He's also got double AT guns. Well, had double AT guns. Managed to pick up one of them with the Obiche barrage. And I'm also trying to focus on defending my fuel so I can keep the tempo of my vehicle production up. P3's here. I'm going to see if I can pick up the kill on this paratrooper. Not having a lot of luck right now with the double P3s. Man, these things really need a buff, dude. Barraging the center section, denying the VP capture with the Assault Grenadier. And he manages to get away with this 1 HP paratrooper, which I wasn't too happy about. If you guys have watched me on stream, you know I'm much less cool in these situations than I am talking through the videos after the fact. Good hit in from the Canone, which I've managed to keep alive thanks to the recrew there. Really did not want to lose that during that push that he did. The AT guns are much more replaceable than the Canone is. But again, this is going to provide me continuous value against the paratroopers and any other team weapons that he manages to pick up. Again, we're still prioritizing the VP capture. Just gonna retreat that AT gun, get some poking shots in here with the P3s. Get some good penetrations, actually. Now that I've spotted him out, I'm going to focus on hitting him with the Canone, which I managed to pick up the D crew there. And now I'm going to try to push him with the P3s to make sure that he can't recrew it. Now, I also actually used the Canone barrage because I was anticipating that he was going to try to recrew it there anyways. And I want to make sure that I can pick that off and finish it so that he doesn't... The only anti-tank weapon that he has is that one Hellcat. So again, I'm really trying to kill this, but I just can't seem to hit it with my P3s for whatever reason. Trying to finish it off here also with the Canone, but just not having a lot of luck in picking that off. Now, again, I like to give you guys the opportunity to think about these things for yourselves because I feel like that's where the real learning opportunity is instead of just me telling everything. Looking at our current composition, looking at our resources, looking at Miguel's composition, what we know he has, what would be the next best choice? Considering he's got 2 dozers, we know he's got access to the bombing run. He's got these 2 paratroopers that are somewhat threatening to our infantry especially. But what would make the best complementary add to our composition if you look at what we've got right now? I'll give you guys like a second to think about that. And looking at what I've got here, I'm thinking about what I've teched, what I have access to. I could build another pack, but that is going to leave me susceptible to getting bombing run again. And I also know that I have all of the, I consider these the core vehicle upgrades in a long DAK game. Survival package, you absolutely need. Emergency repair kits, super valuable, absolutely need that. This becomes kind of a luxury item and something you do want to prioritize as the game goes on. The rotation rate, the speed, as well as the ability to capture really come in handy as you lose infantry and frankly get your infantry get really outscaled over the course of a long game against like riflemen, Tommies, paratroopers, whatever it is. The assault grenadiers just don't scale as well as I would like currently. But anyway, so knowing all of that, knowing that I have all the vehicle upgrades, I'm leaning towards the Stug Assault Group. Reason why is they have great frontal armor. They're going to have great survivability and mobility now that I have rapid advance. And they are going to be a great mobile threat against the Shermans. Unlike the AT guns, the Shermans are not really going to do anything to the Stugs. And I can be really aggressive with them because they're mobile. And they'll also complement the double P3 build that I have right now that's going to work pretty favorably for me against the infantry that he's got left, the paratroopers. So that's what I'm leaning for. You can see here I'm just buying time with my assault grenadiers while the P3's back into position. I'm going to be able to deny the capture here. And evidently he was focused here on the middle. We managed to pick up the paratrooper kill, which is huge for us. And again, with the paratroopers dying, this just further reinforces my decision to go for the double Stug call-in. Because the main threat that he's got to me right now are the vehicles. Look at this damage. He hits me with double dozer because I have prepared positions and I'm carrying a 1919. It's just like not doing that much damage. Getting aggressive here on my Canone. Now I should have been faster and more active with the P3s. I should have been coming in probably from the flank here. But as I take 2 hits from some anti-tank weapons, I decide to back away. But I am going to be very aggressive and frontlining with the Stugs, which have the opportunity to potentially... And there we go. We can see actually he managed to run into a teller mine that I planted a little bit earlier with one of my Pyos. Not long after he did that push in with the dozers is when I decided to plant this, which I actually must have missed, unfortunately, on the recording here. Must have been some other things happening. But yeah, decide to plant the mine a little bit deeper so I can defend against another potential dive. And he manages to hit it with one of his Hellcats, which gives me the opportunity to pounce here with the Stugs and pick up the kill. See, the P3s were also coming here to support. But I know he's got an AT gun as well as a second Hellcat here in position. And I don't know for sure that he's only got one AT gun, which is why I hesitate a little bit to push in. Using the Canone to try to potentially soften the AT gun before pushing in. If I managed to get some good hits or good damage on the AT gun, I would have collapsed on it with my P3s and the Stugs. Okay, I was gonna say, yeah, I should be getting right onto the +10 here to deny the decapture. Getting aggressive again with the Stugs. Unfortunately, these are kind of difficult to use on the move in one control group, so I kind of mess myself up there with the usage of them because the firing arc is very low. Again, I'm not really afraid of this dozer, which is why I'm ignoring it. I'm just concerned about the AT gun, which I happen to know is over here, and his Hellcat, which is why I was being a little bit more aggressive with these, even though they're sub 50% HP each. Denying the capture here with the P3. I don't want to give him access to any more vehicles. Maybe deny the potential of building more Hellcats. He's got this AT gun still in position here. It's a good spot. Assault Grenadiers finally coming in to support. Just prioritizing my Pioneers, keeping my Stugs healthy, which are the only thing that can really deter his vehicles right now. Thanks to emergency repair kits, you know, taking this a little bit of chip damage and then just holding still, this is really going to allow you to maximize your uptime with your vehicles.
Enemy down to 100 points. Confirmed. 100.
Again, going for the Canone, firing at his base. Managed to pick up his medical tent, which is great. That's always a huge win, because that means that your opponent's squads are going to be coming on the field without full HP. Getting great damage in there from the Canone. And the next target I'm going to be thinking about in terms of static ones is going to be this tank depot, because if I can destroy that, then I pretty much won the game. Now we've got the triple cap on him. I'm trying to maximize, like, okay, I want to make sure that I can maximize my window of this triple cap. I know that I have prepared positions, so I can take a good chunk of hits from the dozer coming at this building. Stugs are rotating in as the MG34 buys time. We end up running into one of his dozers with the Stugs, and you can see we're using the Stugs to front line and potentially thinking about flanking with the P3s here. Run into his AT gun, so don't want to get too aggressive so we don't get snared. Again, we're just going to buy time. Make sure that our repairs are up. Now, I actually backed my machine gun out of the building, but I didn't retreat it because I knew that I had the opportunity to buy some more time and potentially close out on VPs here. As I saw his dozer back away and the rifleman cross the threshold on this fuel point, I'm going to get back into this building. You can see here, now he's going to be, okay, he's going to get suppressed by the machine gun. He has no choice but to pull one of his dozers back or or attack it with P3 coming in. Takes a wonky path, so I have to smoke to make sure I can get out. When in doubt, just use the smoke, you know, especially if you're floating a lot of munitions. Ooh, managed to squeak out of his vision range there on the Hellcat. Stugs are defending. MG34 just suppressing everything. I've kind of accepted that this is just going to die, but I'm using it to buy time. Vehicle's holding here in the middle. MG is going to deter this paratrooper, and then we managed to pick up the win. So you notice, pretty back and forth game. Really well played by Miguel, despite you know, taking some pretty slow losses over the course of the game from the Canone and me getting some good pickups there. He still managed to maintain control and provide himself a window to come back with that fantastic dozer with carpet bomb push. But anyway, that's it. Hope you guys like the game. Hope you... Hey, I still know there's like 40% of you guys that are coming back and watching a ton of these videos and you're not subscribed yet. So maybe you should consider doing that. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you guys on the next one.